Hi, this is Ms. Freeman. Today we're going to talk about literal equations and specifically solving literal equations. So a literal equation is an equation in which you have more than one variable and you're going to solve it for a certain variable. This has one of the most applications that we'll use in math. This has a lot of carryover to your science class as well. So for example, if we took the area of a triangle, so the formula for an area of a triangle is A for area equals 1/2 the base times the height. This is an example of a literal equation. Or the perimeter of a square would be P equals 4S. And what we're going to do, we're going to take these equations and we're going to solve for one specific variable. So with each one of these examples, we're also going to look at an equation that we already know how to solve. So this first example here is x minus 7 equals 8, and we're just going to solve this equation. So we're going to draw our line, and we're trying to solve for x. We're trying to get the variable x by itself. So we're going to get rid of this minus 7. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. And when we do this, the 7's will cancel on the left, which will give us our x. And 8 plus 7, we can actually simplify this. These are both constants, so 8 plus 7 is 15. And that would be our answer for our first one. But now notice when we look at example 1b, this is going to be our literal equation. X minus b equals a. So same thing, I'm going to draw my line here through my equals. And then I'm going to go back and look at the directions, because notice we have 3 variables here. So the directions say we're going to solve for x. So I'm just going to put a little mark here to remind us that the x is the one we're trying to get by itself. So I'm going to say, well, what's on the same side as the x? So this minus b is on the same side, so that's what I want to get rid of. So the opposite of subtracting b would be to add b. So if we do that to one side, we also have to do it to the other side. So that way this negative b and positive b will cancel, which will leave us with the x. Bring down our equals. But now on this right side, we can't simplify these. These are different variables, so we're just going to carry them both down. So we had an a, and we're adding b to it. Go back to our directions. The directions were to solve for x. The x is by itself, so this would be our answer. X equals a plus b. Okay, example 2. So the first one, 2a, we have 4x equals 12. So we'll draw our line here. We're trying to solve for x. So the 4 and the x are right beside each other, which means you're multiplying. So that means that we're going to divide both sides by 4. That way our 4's cancel. We'll have our x equals, on the right side, negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. So now let's try to apply that to example 2b. So 2b says we're going to solve for k. Solve for k. So I'm going to put a little mark here underneath the k just to kind of remind me that's the one I'm trying to get by itself. So I'm going to draw my line. So since the k is what I'm solving for, I have to figure out how am I going to get rid of that negative 3 in front. Well, the negative 3 and the k are beside each other, which means you're multiplying. So to get rid of it, we're going to divide by negative 3. And we have to do that on both sides. So the negative 3's will cancel, and I'll bring down my k equals. On the right side here, we can't simplify this any. Negative 3 won't go into m, which is like a 1m, so we're just going to leave it. M divided by negative 3. We were solving for k. The k is by itself, so that's our answer. K equals m divided by negative 3. Example 3. We'll start with the one that we already know how to solve. So 2x minus 5 equals 11. We'll draw our line, trying to solve for x. So we have to get rid of the minus 5, so we'll add 5 to both sides. The negative 5 and 5 cancel, so we'll bring down 2x on the left equals 11 plus 5 will give us 16 on the right. One more step, we're trying to get the x by itself, so we'll divide both sides by 2. 2's cancel, and x equals 8. So let's apply that to 3b. So we're going to draw our line here. go to our directions since we have more than one variable. And the directions say solve for b. I'm going to put a little mark here by the b just to kind of remind us that's what we're trying to solve. So the minus 9, we need to get rid of that first. So we'll add 9 on both sides. That way the negative 9 and the positive 9 cancel. So on the left we have a 2 and a b equals. Well, on the right, these aren't like terms, so we can't combine these. So we're going to bring both of these down. So we're going to bring down that d, and we're trying to add 9 to it. Now, the directions were to solve for b, so here's our b again, but now we have to get rid of this 2 in front. So the 2 and the b are right beside each other, so that means to multiply. So to get rid of multiplying by 2, we're going to divide by 2. And we'll divide each part by 2. So that way the 2's cancel on the left, and there's our b. Okay, now look at the first one. This is like a 1d here. So 2 doesn't go into 1, so we'll leave that d over 2. Look at the second part here. 2 will go into 9, but it doesn't go evenly, so we're just going to leave that as well. So positive plus 9 over 2. Directions were to solve for b. We have the b by itself, so there's our answer. Okay, example 4. So we have for a, 1/2 times 4x equals negative 20. We'll draw our line. And if you look over here on the left side, we could actually simplify this sum. So we could say 1/2 times 4, so half of 4, what's half of 4? Which is 2. So that's actually the same thing as 2x equals negative 20. So we're trying to get the x by itself. So now we'll just divide by both sides by 2. And x equals negative 10. So let's go over to our literal equation. So our literal equation here is AEG equals 10. And it's called a literal equation because you have more than one variable. So our directions say solve for g. So I'm just going to put a little mark here by the g, just kind of remind me. So if we're looking to solve for g, we have to get rid of this a and this e. Well, the a and the e are right beside it, which means multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying by a and e, we're going to divide by a and e. We'll do that on each side. So that way on the left, the a's cancel and the e's cancel, but you still have the g left. And on the right, same thing here. So we can't simplify. This is like a 1/8 AE. AE can't go into 10. So we're going to bring it all down. So 10 divided by A and E. We solve for G. G's by itself. So there's our answer. Okay, so last example here on our note sheet, we have x divided by negative 8 equals 11. We'll draw our line here. So we're trying to solve for x. So to get rid of this divided by negative 8, we're going to multiply both sides by negative 8. So that way the negative 8's cancel on the left. We have our x left. On the right, 11 times negative 8 is negative 88. So now, let's think about how that will help us here with our literal equation. So it's once again, it's called a literal because you have more than one variable here. You have a y and a h. So the directions say we're solving for y. So I'm just going to put a little mark here. Just to remind me, I'm trying to get the y by itself. So we have y divided by 3 equals h. So the divide by 3 is with the y. That's what we need to get rid of. So the opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. Whatever we do to one side, we'll have to do to the other. So on the left, that divided by 3 and multiply by 3 cancel, which leaves us with our 8, or our y rather, I'm sorry, y equals. And then on the right, we have h times 3. So remember, this is like a 1 here. So 3 times 1 would be 3. And then we'll have to bring down the h. We can't simplify that. Directions say solve for y. The y is by itself. So there's our answer. Y equals 3h.